Good morning, Intenders.
Good morning.
Welcome back to Morning Intentions. Today is Monday, February 23rd, and we're in our final week of alignment with self. But don't fret, the journey continues next month in March, where we'll be doing a book study on the book Too Much by Terry Cole. You don't have to buy the book. You don't have to read the book. All you need to do is show up each morning, Monday through Friday, and join with us for our discussion on codependency. We see that as the natural progression from orientation to alignment with self. And like guilt, codependency is where many people struggle to show up in alignment with themselves.
But before we get to high-functioning codependency, we don't want to leave February without talking about a few other stumbling blocks on our way to self-alignment. What we're going to concentrate on today is overcorrecting. How I have explained this to a few of our clients is that we have this pendulum that is way off and we're completely out of alignment with ourselves. So out of alignment, we don't even know. And then we go through that orientation process. We listen and we notice. And then we start truly understanding what alignment with self means. And then we can say, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And then we go a little bit more aggressively to the other side. It's like when we learn about boundaries, we may not have had boundaries at all. And then we start putting some boundaries into our life, and then everything is a boundary. Ada and I have shared this over and over again. We want to find the middle way, the medium setting. As I said to Ada when she was younger.
Find a medium setting.
Find the medium setting. So overcorrecting, like having boundaries that are way too rigid, that also isn't a healthy place to be. Because what we want to be is aligned with healthy guilt. We want to also return to ourselves instead of being in this hypervigilance of judging all the time.
And much of the time when we start overcorrecting and when that pendulum swings so hard, it's coming from fear. It's this, it feels so great. I never want to feel that way ever again. I never want to feel out of alignment one more day or moment in my life. That pendulum swings, and we've gone from a loving decision to choose ourselves to suddenly now we're coming from fear, and every decision that we make is not choosing ourselves. It's choosing against being out of alignment with ourselves, which is an important distinction. It may not seem like much because we can be doing the same actions from either love or from fear. And if we're just saying, okay, I'm going to do this because if I do what I always did, I'm going to be out of alignment with myself. Even if it's a healthy thing to do, even if it's the right thing for us, the energy or the feeling or the vibe behind it is coming from this fearful place. We're not coming out of love for ourselves or love for others. We're coming from the fear of going back to the old way, which we know did not serve us.
I see this so much in the world. What I mean by that, there can be a problem, and then people can start finding solutions, but then the solutions tend to go like too far, then that creates another problem. I'm going to be brave here and say I've even seen this in religion. I've done a lot of spiritual searching, studied a lot of religions, and you can see where there's a pattern where the religion is actually addressing a certain situation. And the certain situation actually needed to be addressed, but then it kind of goes too far. So there's rules that are made up, and this person's bad, this person's good. It must be done this certain way. We become very regimented and strict. And we can find that in our own life too. where, yes, we've been out of alignment. And yes, we didn't listen, we didn't notice. And then we start coming to this kind of sweet spot where we are aligned. And we've learned, like from last week, well, there's healthy guilt and there's false guilt. And we learn to distinguish between the two. And we learn to let the false guilt go. And then there can be a tendency until we learn to be centered. And I don't really like words they're kind of like, oh, I must be centered and please be centered. And yeah, okay. But yes, we need to be centered. We need to be centered, meaning we're not out of alignment, but didn't let that pendulum swing way too far that here I am, I'm aligning with self and nobody else matters. Like there's finding this sweet spot because there's a lot of judgment with out of alignment in both ways. Politically, we can say, okay, there's this idea, maybe certain problems need to be addressed, or maybe we need to bring attention to something. But then it seems like once the group starts stirring, then it goes way over and swings over to a place that's actually equally unhealthy. You can see this throughout time. Something happens and then the pendulum swings too far. And then this pendulum kind of starts swinging back. There's a nice equilibrium state. And then it goes too far the other way. We have to watch that individually too. Alignment is the equilibrium where we're standing in our truth, where we're being honest, where we're allowing healthy guilt to flow when it's appropriate, where we're making sure that we're having healthy boundaries without going too far. Because when we go too far, we're also not aligned with being our authentic, vulnerable, true self that's loving and kind and having consideration for others.
There should be a sense of peace about this whole situation. So, like, as we get aligned with self, we'll feel more peaceful. And it's vital. I'm using the word vital. Well, I have to say important, so I'm trying to fly into new words today. It's important, it's vital, it's of the utmost importance that we start becoming aware of how our bodies feel. That's an idea that we're going to repeat as often as necessary because our nervous system and our feelings are the best guide we have for living in alignment. When we start to feel that sense of peace coming in because we begin to live in alignment, we also have to know when we're going out of it. When we go the other way, we swing too far out of fear, checking in with ourselves. Where is this coming from inside of me? How does my body feel? Do I feel tense about the situation? If we're in alignment, we're going to feel peace. There's going to be a sense of ease about it. Once we start getting fearful and we're coming from stress, whether it's for someone else's expectations or even our own expectations of ourselves, and we're going, oh gosh, I gotta have peace. I gotta be in alignment. Then we know, okay, check in. Where is this coming from? What do I need to do to step off the gas for a second? Just say, okay, hold on. It doesn't need to be this much. Finding that gentleness and that tenderness and that sense of ease as we go through our days. That's the best way to stay in alignment with ourselves. The moment we start getting rigid, the moment we start having these expectations and these rules about everything, we can tell and we know we're getting out of alignment. And with that, our intention for today is I will listen and notice, especially listening and noticing what's going on in our bodies to see if the pendulum is swinging too far out of fear. I will listen and notice to see if the pendulum is swinging too far the other way out of fear. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our day is better because you are part of our day. See you tomorrow.
See you then.